In early 2025, an AI system in a Nairobi clinic diagnosed a rare cancer.
Then changed its own diagnoses.
Without any human input.
When the engineers reviewed the logs, they couldn't explain it. Not a single rule was broken. The data hadn't changed.
It just decided. I was part of the engineering team that reviewed those logs, and that single unexplainable moment, well, it raises what might be the most important question of our time. If an AI can govern a single medical decision, what's to stop it from governing our entire society?
That is exactly what we're exploring today. Why we desperately need AI constitutions right now, and how the future of digital governance could actually be led from a very unexpected place. Now, I've spent 20 years building and advising on these systems, from clinics in East Africa to global ethics boards, and I truly believe this is our central challenge. So, let's get into it. We talk a lot about AI in specific areas, finance, healthcare, you name it, but we rarely stop and ask the most fundamental question. Who governs the governors? Right now, as we speak, algorithms are influencing our elections. They're shaping criminal sentencing, they're deciding immigration cases, and they're often doing it without any real transparency or public consent. This isn't some far-off sci-fi scenario. This is the quiet rise of what I call algorithmic sovereignty, where real power is shifting away from transparent ballots and into opaque digital black boxes.
Think about it for a second. AI is already a co-governor. When it comes to elections, it's way beyond simple ads now. Micro-targeting algorithms are sophisticated enough to create a unique, personalized reality for every single voter. They analyze all your data to craft messages designed to provoke a very specific emotional response. We're not just talking about persuasion anymore. This is about shaping your entire information ecosystem to nudge your behavior, often without you even realizing it.
Now let's look at the justice system. Courts all over are using AI risk assessment tools to help decide things like bail and sentencing. These tools analyze hundreds, sometimes thousands of variables, things like your zip code, your family history, to predict your future behavior. But the data patterns are so complex that no human judge can possibly trace the logic. And what does that mean? It means life-altering decisions are being made based on hidden correlations that might be, and often are, deeply biased.
And the very same thing is happening at our borders. Automated systems scan visa and immigration applications, flagging them for denial based on criteria that are completely hidden within the model. A family's entire future can be decided by a system whose reasoning is literally a corporate trade secret. This creates this invisible digital barrier, and it represents the quiet removal of human consideration from some of the most life-changing decisions a person can face.
And this, of course, brings us right back to public health. During the pandemic, contact tracing AI was used to decide who needed to be quarantined, restricting personal freedom for what was seen as the greater good. But what happens when that algorithm makes a mistake, when it gets it wrong? The path to appeal is often incredibly unclear, or it just doesn't exist at all. See, these aren't just isolated incidents. They are all data points in one single massive trend, a fundamental shift toward governance by systems we can't audit, we can't challenge, and often we can't even understand.
Let me give you a really concrete case study. Back in 2024, a U.S. state used a brand new AI to redraw its voting districts, and they promised it would be perfectly neutral. But when researchers analyzed the new map, they found it systematically and quite significantly diluted the voting power of minority communities. So when they were challenged on this, the officials' response was shockingly simple. The model decided. Nobody could explain how it happened. See, the AI hadn't been programmed to be biased. It had simply learned from decades of biased historical data and then replicated that injustice silently, efficiently, and at scale.
This is a perfect example of what I've come to call algorithmic colonialism. It's a new, subtle form of power where we outsource critical societal decisions to machines that have been trained on our own flawed histories. These systems learn our worst impulses, our historical biases, and they replicate them at a speed and scale that would be impossible for humans, all while claiming to be objective, neutral, and data-driven. It's a way of locking in the injustices of the past under a veneer of futuristic technology. So, all of this brings us to the core dilemma, this huge accountability vacuum. When an AI causes real harm, when it denies someone a loan, recommends a harsh prison sentence, or flags an innocent person as a threat, who exactly is responsible?
And that really is the crucial point, isn't it? Who do you hold accountable? Is it the developer who wrote the original code? The data scientist who created the training data? Maybe the politician who championed and deployed the system? The truth is, in our current legal and ethical framework, responsibility is so diffused, so spread out, that it effectively just evaporates. And the answer, far too often, is nobody.
You know, with traditional harm, let's say medical malpractice, we have centuries of legal precedent. There's a clear chain of liability and established due process. This is what builds trust in our institutions. But with algorithmic harm, that entire structure just collapses. Liability vanishes behind this convenient, almost magical shield of the algorithm decided. And this isn't just a legal problem. This is something that erodes the very foundation of public trust in our systems of governance.
So, what's the solution? It's not to ban AI. That ship has sailed, and frankly, that's impossible. The answer is to govern it. We need to build frameworks that are as foundational and as robust as our political constitutions. We need to build the essential guardrails for a free and fair digital society.
So, what would an AI constitution actually look like in practice? Well, I believe it's built on 5 core non-negotiable principles. First, digital citizenship rights. You have the fundamental right to know when an AI is making a decision about you. Second, algorithmic transparency. For high-stakes systems, justice, healthcare, finance, we have to demand explainability. Third, bias audits. Regular, independent assessments for fairness can't be optional. Fourth, human oversight. A real human circuit breaker must always be in the loop with the power to approve or veto critical decisions. And finally, number 5, the right to appeal. There must be a clear, accessible path for any citizen to challenge an AI's outcome. Now, these aren't restrictions on innovation. They are the very foundations for creating innovation that serves people, and not the other way around.
Now, the dominant narrative out there pretty much assumes that Silicon Valley is going to figure all this out. But that perspective is frankly limited. The Valley often sees governance as just a set of rules, an obstacle to overcome. But in many cultures across Africa, governance is something different. It's about community, it's about collective wisdom, and it's about equity. And this profoundly different worldview presents a truly historic opportunity.
And listen, this isn't just a theory. It's already starting to happen. Look at Kenya. They're leading the way in privacy-first digital identity frameworks. In Nigeria, they're pioneering AI-powered judicial assistants that are designed to assist, not replace, human judgment. And you have countries like Rwanda that are building national AI strategies that explicitly prioritize community well-being over raw corporate profit. With young, digitally native populations and mobile-first infrastructure, the continent is uniquely positioned to actually lead the world in human-centered AI.
Okay, let's bring this all together. This entire conversation. It's not about being afraid of technology. It's not about being anti-AI. It's about being pro-freedom.
It's about freedom from silent, invisible, unaccountable control. The old narrative that Africa is somehow behind in tech is fundamentally wrong. When it comes to this specific challenge, the governance challenge, the continent could actually lead the way. With deep-rooted cultural concepts like Ubuntu, the beautiful philosophy that I am because we are, Africa has the philosophical toolkit to show the rest of the world how to build systems that are not just smart, but are also wise and also just.
Because in the end, the future doesn't belong to those who can automate the most processes. It belongs to those who learn to govern that automation with real courage, with unwavering transparency, and yes, with love for the communities they are meant to serve.
If this explainer gave you a new perspective, help share it by liking and subscribing. Next week, we're exploring the one critical phase that 99% of AI startups completely skip. And for more on the human side of technology, you should check out our piece on work and purpose. Thanks so much for watching.
Until next time, think deeper, build wiser, and lead with courage.